Nagarjun Dwarkanath is now joining me live from outside the ISRO headquarters in Bengaluru. Nagarjun, any sort of preliminary findings as to what possibly went wrong?
Well, at this point of time, there is a little information that is trickling down from the ISRO premises as well. What we know is there was two critical phases, even after the power descent started. One was a rough braking phase when the tilt angle, which is coming the horizontal way, the rover would turn almost towards the vertical way. The rover would be coming in a horizontal way, and the rough braking phase would make the rover to tilt in a vertical direction. After that passed, that was a successful turning, and after that passed, there was one more critical phase, that is a fine braking phase, which is not as bad as the rough phase, but that fine braking phase is the time when the rover started to deviate from the actual trajectory, and just 2.1 kilometers above the lunar surface, the communication was lost. ISRO still has some hope, but many critics are already saying on social media that be prepared for the worst, but nevertheless, ISRO has still hope left that they might have some communication in a day or two maybe, and also if the orbiter, when they come back, if the orbiter can come back on the same location and maybe try clicking pictures and getting to know as to what has happened, has it crash landed or is just communication malfunctioning. So a couple of days proper information would be there, but at this point of time, preliminary information is that when there was a fine braking phase that was going on, that was the time some deviation took place in the projected trajectory and the communication was lost.
Right. Nagarjun, just stay on with us because we'll come back to you. Now, let's take a look at the minute-by-minute developments that took place since yesterday up until today when Prime Minister Modi boosted the morale of the scientists and hailed Chandrayan2 mission. Look at this report.
9:30 p.m. Friday. Prime Minister at Bengaluru Airport. The whole spectacle began with PM Narendra Modi arriving at the Bengaluru Airport to witness the historic moon landing. 10 p.m. Friday. ISRO last-minute monitoring. ISRO's control room was meanwhile teeming with action as scientists kept conducting last-minute checks. As the time for the crucial descent neared, tension was palpable. 1:22 a.m. Saturday, Prime Minister reaches control room. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived at ISRO's control room at 1:22 a.m. just before the touchdown process began. 1:37 a.m. Saturday, Vikram lander begins its descent. Vikram lander started its final descent towards the moon at 1:37 a.m. as India watched with bated breath. 1:39 a.m. Saturday, rough braking phase begins. Minutes later, the rough braking phase was initiated, aimed to reduce the Vikram lander's speed from 21,600 kilometers per hour to 7 kilometers per hour. 1:40 a.m. Saturday, 4 liquid engines fire successfully. All seemed to be going well as 4 liquid engines fired successfully at 1:40 a.m. to put brakes on the lander. 1:50 a.m. Saturday, fine braking phase begins. After that, the fine braking phase began to stabilize the lander just before landing. 1:52 a.m. Saturday, lander to ground signal lost. But soon, the mission faced some snag, with communication being lost with the lander when it was merely 2.1 kilometers from the moon's surface. 1:55 a.m. Saturday, scientists wait with bated breath. Everyone at ISRO waited with bated breath to hear back from the lander. 1:59 a.m. Saturday, ISRO chief briefs Prime Minister Modi. Amid a tense moment, ISRO chief K. Sivan apprised Prime Minister Modi of the developing situation.
Normal performance was observed up to an altitude of 2.1 kilometer. The communication from lander to ground station was lost. The data is being analyzed.
2:19 a.m. Saturday. ISRO, till 2.1 kilometer, it was all normal. Clearing the air, ISRO's chief K. Sivan said that the mission faced a snag and the space agency is still analyzing data. 2:19 a.m. Saturday. The Prime Minister says, be courageous. Prime Minister Modi, in turn, boosted the morale of the scientists and hailed the big achievement. The Prime Minister said, this is the moment to be courageous and what ISRO has achieved is no ordinary feat.
मेरी तरफ से आपको बहुत बधाई है, बहुत उत्तम सेवा की है आपने देश ने, आपने बहुत बड़ी सेवा की है विज्ञान की और आपने बहुत बड़ी सेवा की है मानव जात की और आप ही के पुरुषार्थ से फिर से देश खुशी बनाने लग जाएगा, मुझे विश्वास है. Wish you all the best.
3:10 a.m. Saturday. ISRO. Data still being analyzed. ISRO called off its press briefing and said they were analyzing the data. 8 a.m. Saturday. Prime Minister arrives at ISRO headquarters. Prime Minister Modi returns to ISRO headquarters and addresses the scientists, calling them India's pride.
I can proudly say that the effort was worth it, and so was the journey. Our team worked hard, traveled hard, and those teachings will always remain with us. We will look back at the journey and effort with great satisfaction. The learning from today will make us stronger and better.
8:35 a.m. Saturday, Prime Minister congratulates our scientists. Prime Minister shook hands with every scientist and applauded their efforts. 8:39 a.m. Saturday, Prime Minister consoles ISRO chief. Just as Prime Minister was leaving the ISRO control center, he hugs ISRO chief K. Sivan, who breaks down. Prime Minister Modi gets emotional and consoles K. Sivan. With Shiv Arur, Nolan Pinto and Raj Chengappa in Bengaluru, Bureau Report, India Today.
My colleague Shiv Arur is now joining me from Bengaluru. Shiv, what is the ISRO now focusing on?
Well, you can bet that the ISRO is now laser focused on finding out precisely what happened in that final phase. 2.1 kilometers above the surface of the moon, something went wrong. Things did not work out. It was not the outcome that ISRO was expecting. The confidence, in the perfection of everything preceding that 2.1 kilometer altitude, probably made what happened later come as a bit of a shock, and that's why it took a while to sink in. So now ISRO is collecting all the data from, the Vikram lander before it blacked out and went radio silent. Any, data downloads that are available, any images it took, any sensor data, all kinds of data, concerned with the lander itself will be collected and analyzed. Any other, extraneous factors that could be suggested by any other external sensors from other space agencies will also be looked at to profile what finally went wrong. I think the biggest priority right now that the ISRO will be focusing on, beyond any other, is what went wrong at 2.1 kilometers.